Overtime or extra time is an additional period of play specified under the rules of a sport to bring a game to a decision and avoid declaring the match a tie or draw where the scores are the same. In some sports, this extra period is played only if the game is required to have a clear winner, as in single elimination tournaments where only one team or players can advance to the next round or win the tournament. In other sports, particularly those prominently played in North America where ties are generally disfavored, some form of overtime is employed for all games. The rules of overtime or extra time vary between sports and even different competitions. Some may employ sudden death, where the first player or team who scores immediately wins the game. In others, play continues until a specified time has elapsed, and only then is the winner declared, if the contest remains tied after the extra session. Depending on the rules, the match may immediately end as a draw, additional periods may be played, or a different tie-breaking procedure such as a penalty shootout may be used instead. The terms overtime and in overtime are primarily used in North America, whereas the terms extra time and after extra time are usually used in other continents. However, in basketball, the terms overtime and in overtime are used worldwide. In association football knockout competitions or competition stages, teams play an extra 30 minutes, called extra time, when the deciding leg has not produced a winner by the end of normal or full time. It follows a short break where players remain on or around the field of play and comprises 2 straight 15-minute periods, with teams changing ends in between. Although the laws of the game state that extra time is one of the approved methods to decide a winner, competitions are not bound to adopt extra time, and each competition is free to choose any method designated in the laws of the game to decide a winner. In a one-off tie or deciding replay, level scores nearly always go to extra time. In games played over 2 legs usually accompanying the earlier score after regulation time, ties that are still without a winner after extra time are usually broken by kicks from the penalty spot, commonly called a penalty shootout. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, many international matches tried to reduce this by employing the golden goal or silver goal rules, but competitions have not retained these. In NCAA college soccer rules, all matches that remain tied after 90 minutes have an overtime period. A sudden death golden goal rule is applied, with the game ending as soon as an overtime goal is scored. If neither team scores in the 2 10-minute halves, the match ends in a draw unless it is a conference or national championship tournament match. A playoff game tied after 2 overtime periods then moves to a penalty kick shootout with a winner determined by the team's alternating kicks from the penalty mark. High school rules vary depending on the state and conference, but most will have a sudden death overtime procedure wherein the game ends upon scoring a golden goal, although in some instances the overtime will go until completion with the team in the lead after time expires declared the winner. The overtime period length may vary, but it is commonly 10 minutes long, depending on the state, if the game is still tied at the end of the first overtime. The NFL introduced overtime for any divisional tiebreak games beginning in 1940, and for championship games beginning in 1946. The first postseason game to be played under these rules was the 1958 NFL championship game between the Baltimore Colts and New York Giants. In 1974, the NFL adopted sudden death overtime for regular season and preseason games. If the score is tied after regulation time has expired, one additional period is played. Until the 2016 season, the period was 15 minutes in all games. Since 2017, it is 10 minutes for regular season games. The captains meet with the officials for a coin toss, and then one side kicks off to the other, as at the start of a game. Under the original regular season format used through 2011, whoever scored first during the extra period won the game. Additionally, during regular season games, fourth quarter timing rules were in effect throughout the period, including a 2-minute warning if necessary. In the regular season, if the overtime period is completed without either side scoring, the game ends in a tie. Because there cannot be a tie in the playoffs, The teams would switch ends of the field and start multiple 15-minute overtime periods until one side scored. And all clock rules were as if a game had started over. Should a tie remain after overtime, this procedure repeats in true sudden death thereafter. Therefore, if a game was still tied with 2 minutes to go in any even overtime, there would be a 2-minute warning. If it was still tied at the end of double overtime, the team that lost the OV